franktalks.com.
Check out the Frank Talks Relationships column currently running in the Suburban Newspaper online magazine. To read more, please visit thesuburban.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com.
The Monogamy Map. Remember to sign up for the Monogamy Map newsletter and get weekly tips about navigating the journey of setting up and creating successful monogamy for two. Sign up at franktalks.com now.
This is an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File program with Peter Anthony Holder.
When was the last time a fight broke out over a misunderstood comment you made via text message or social media? Did it destroy any relationships? Relationship coach Frank Kermit is back on the show to talk about social media and relationships. And he joins us on the line via Skype-to-Skype communications from right here in Montreal. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Peter. How you doing?
Just tickety-boo. It seems to be more and more people are tweeting and sending instant messages and sending text messages rather than talking to each other. And I'm guessing this can cause some problems.
Absolutely. It can definitely cause problems when you're dating somebody, when you're in relationships. The important thing to remember is that if an individual tweet or an individual post on social media is enough to completely stop a relationship in its tracks, probably wasn't a very good relationship to begin with.
Good point. Good point. But what about people who aren't necessarily instant messaging or tweeting to each other, but tweeting about each other? I'm not saying that in a negative or nasty or nefarious kind of way. We can get to that later. But I'm talking about situations where people, sometimes in a relationship, one party is say more private than the other. And if you're out there tweeting, I went out with so-and-so this week and we had a great time, and that other person says, I don't want my business out on social media. That could be a problem too, could it not?
Absolutely. Everybody has a different place where they draw the line. Everybody has different boundaries. One person may say, look, I don't want any of our private time together to be exposed to the world on social media. Other people say, look, I really don't care what you share in that respect, as long as you don't share some of the private details about the intimacy we shared, about any conversations or topic we may have had that should only stay between us. And this is actually a problem for a number of people because they don't communicate their boundaries right away. Usually they start dating, and dating is all about fun, as opposed to trying to figure out whether or not somebody can meet your needs and enter something more serious with you. So generally speaking, if there's something you don't want shared on social media, might not be the first few things that you share on a date. And if you are going to share them on a date, you need to be ready that the person that you're with may not understand the sensitivity of that information that they want to share along.
Good point. Now, should people in getting into a new relationship, should they early on even discuss the idea of internet or social media boundaries?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's got to be one of the first topics of conversation on a first date. And it's not necessarily a, finger wagging, look, I don't want you doing this or else. It might start off with a question. How active on social media are you? What do you normally post on things like Facebook? What type of things do you use Twitter for? These types of questions are very open-ended. You'll find out a lot about the person, and it creates a really casual environment where you can discuss certain topics. If somebody says, well, I post photos of my kids, I post photos of the day, whatever's going on at work, I may mention it, then that can lead to, well, what do you talk about when it comes to your dating life? How much do you share?
Right.
And then you get into, well, this is what I am comfortable with, this is what I'm not comfortable with. The more boundaries you have, the more you need to share and express that these are my concerns.
By the way, my first sign is when you go on a date with somebody and they snap a picture of the food you're eating, which to me is, I like to refer to it as food porn. There is not a single picture of anything I've ever eaten online, by the way. Just want to tell you that right now. And that to me is a big red flag.
Well, hold on. Let's be fair here. It may be a big red flag for you because you have a personal preference not to go that way.
Yeah.
For someone else, it may not deter them either way. Their attitude is, hey, it's a picture of food. You want to share that? Go ahead. There's worse things in the world. What I look at is, if that does happen, if the phone comes out, the photo of the food gets sent out to social media, the next question is, look, I'm very curious. Is there anything you don't post on social media?
Good question. Very good question. That would be mine, absolutely. Now, in this day and age, again with social media, I'm sure this is something that has come up in with what you do, and I'm sure you have a strong opinion of it. People who break up or who fight through social media.
Happens a lot more often than it should. Generally speaking, you want to wait and keep your fights in person if you can. But, before social media, when we only had telephones, people would fight over the phone as well. People will fight through whatever medium of communication is out there because fighting is a form of communication.
But at least when you're fighting over the phone, you are talking to each other. You're getting the nuances of the tonality of what's being said, whether it's being shouted or whether it's being said sarcastically or whether it's a calming situation. It's not just the words, it's the tone.
Whether or not it's just the words lacking the tone, it's still a fight. Yeah. And when we're talking about people who are upset and wanting to communicate the fact that they're upset, they're going to say and do things that may be misinterpreted. And yes, it is not the best way. Personally, when it comes to things like texting, always best to leave texting just for locations and very quick points, such as, we're meeting at this place at this time, right? Okay, thanks for the confirmation. You have to remember, though, that generations that are growing up with social media, that is a primary mode of communication for them, as generations who grew up on the telephone use the telephone for primary sources of communications. So that's going to happen. They are going to fight. They are going to reach out, make mistakes, and so on. The key here to remember, and this is probably the biggest lesson anyone can take away from this interview, never put anything in writing that you would not want repeated. At one time, you could feel comfortable saying, look, I may say something, but it's never going to come back to bite me. Well, when you put something in writing that you don't want passed around, shared around, and forwarded, it's a bit harder to do.
Absolutely. I miss the old days when you could argue via a tin can and a string. Now, with the other thing that I find nowadays happening with social media is not just one party arguing with another party via text messaging, but one party inviting the world into the argument, which I just don't understand this concept at all. Somebody putting on their Facebook page, I can't believe my boyfriend said this, or I can't believe my girlfriend did that.
Most people who do that are looking for support. They're looking for some kind of validation. If nothing else, they're trying to say, you see, I want other people to support me and say I'm right. Well, that, to me, is a major red flag.
That, to me, gets someone unfriended, personally, as far as I'm concerned.
More than that, that's somebody you would cut out of your life. That's someone you cut out of your life.
Exactly.
Look, these things go viral. It becomes a big joke. And the fact is, if you are having a fight with someone, going public with it doesn't reflect well on you. And it's not just that person that you had a fight with that you're going to lose. Anybody else that was thinking about you as a potential serious partner or someone that says, that's someone I might like to date one day if they're ever single again. Well, if the reason you became single is because of stuff you posted about your ex before they were your ex, you might have a lot of high-quality people saying, yeah, you see, I don't want to invite that into my love life.
Yeah. Going public with your fights, that's called the Jerry Springer show.
And you know what? Jerry Springer, a lot of them were staged. That's my understanding.
Absolutely. They'd have to be.
In these cases, this is not staged. This is people who are losing control and not realizing that there are consequences they cannot predict You don't know who's going to be looking up your tweets and your posts in the future. It could be somebody who's looking to hire you for a very tough profession to break into, perhaps a profession that requires things like discretion, a profession that requires things like confidentiality. And if these are the types of things that you are posting on your social media network, it may not exactly represent you well when you're competing with a few dozen other people for the same position.
Is it more than just a generational thing and people using social media more than ever before and younger people using it as part of their daily lives all the time? Isn't it more something to do with some people just not understanding what boundaries are?
I would agree with that. With that said, when you grow up with it every day, it's hard for people to understand that there is such a thing as privacy, that there is such a thing as information that does not need to be shared.
Absolutely.
So people who grew up with the understanding, look, there's privacy, there's things you don't share with the world, they're the ones who really can't grasp this concept of social media. And anybody from that generation who already never understood the concepts of boundaries, they're just going to repeat the same behavior patterns with social media. Younger people nowadays don't even understand the basic concepts of copyright sometimes, because everything is, well, you just go ahead and download it. Yeah, but there's that actually is hurting certain people in certain industries. Why? I don't understand, because it's always been there for them, and having to explain that to them changes things.
Interesting conversation indeed. Frank, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. People can find out more information by going to your website, franktalks.com, and what will they find there?
Oh, they're going to find a few hundred articles that I've written on the topic of dating and relationships. They're going to find a bunch of newsletters. I have various newsletters for people who are coping with loss, to people who are trying to stop being single, to people who are just trying to figure out how to move through the world of relationships, both monogamous and non-monogamous. Sign up for the newsletters. You get some free gifts. Sign up on the website and have a look at a lot of videos there, too, of my different media appearances, including this one.
Thank you very much, Frank, for being on the program once again.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, sir.
Relationship coach Frank Kermit. You can check out his website at franktalks.com, and you can go to my website at thestuffile.com, go to the What's On page for the show, which is show number 0276, and you'll find the link.
You've just heard an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File program with Peter Anthony Holder. To hear any or all of the full hour-long shows, visit thestuffile.com. Stuff is spelled S-T-U-P-H. That's thestuffile.com. A presentation of Flying Fish Communications.
Remember to sign up for the Speed Dating Advice newsletter and get weekly tips to increase your matches. Learn every speed dating secret that speed dating companies don't want you to know. Sign up at franktalks.com now.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.
Stop being single. Remember to sign up for the Stop Being Single newsletter and get weekly tips about how to stop being single and how to start up a love life. Sign up at franktalks.com now.
What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, whoa, get by with a little help time to turn things around.
Just sign up at franktalks.com.
Yeah, get
by with help from Frank Talks.
I get
By with little help from Frank Talks. Time to try a little help from Frank Talks. Does it cost a lot of money?
It's the best rate going around.
Could it cost a lot of money?
Oh, it's worth every cent that you will put down. Yeah.
franktalks.com.
Oh, you got to go to get your help from franktalks.com. Yeah, yeah.
Would you believe that Frank gets results?
Yes, we're certain. Just read the reviews.
Frank knows his stuff and finds several goods.
Good love can soon come to you.